Today on Adversity to Strength, I'm joined by Misty Nesbitt, memoir, author, entrepreneur, and mother of six, whose life story is not about shock value, but about what happens after survival. As a teenager, Misty was married off and thrust into a world shaped by trauma, poverty, and systems that failed to protect her. What makes her story powerful isn't only what she endured, it's what she chose to build in the aftermath, a life grounded in resilience, accountability, purpose. Her debut memoir, The Girl Who Kept Breathing, explores the long road from silence to self definition, breaking generational cycles, rebuilding identity, and choosing growth without a roadmap. This isn't a conversation about blame, it's about ownership, it's about boundaries, it's about rewriting the narrative you were handed. Today, we'll explore resilience, motherhood, faith, healing, and the courage it takes to confront your past without being defined by it. If you've ever had to rebuild from something that should have broken you, this will be an episode that will stay with you. Misty, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. It's great to finally get to speak to you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Take us back to the beginning. Where did your journey start? I know it's been an extremely eventful one.
Well, my first book I started it as far back as I can remember. It was about 3 or 4, and I don't know, I don't really remember exactly how old I was. I wasn't very old, but, we didn't have what's the word I'm looking for? Stability, I guess. We didn't have love. Our mother was divorced from our father, and we had a stepfather, and we were forced to call him dad, forced to be thankful because he stayed because he didn't have to. No, didn't matter how he treated us. It didn't matter the chaos we were living in. We should have been thankful because he was there.
Yeah. And what age was it that he first come into your life?
He's there as far as I can remember.
Yeah.
So it was early. I think I was under 1 when he came in there. My biological father, he was a drug addict. He had PTSD. He was schizophrenic. So I was only around him twice ever in my life. And he was pretty abusive to our mother. So we weren't allowed around him.
And is that why that relationship ended through your mother because of the way that your father was towards her and everyone else?
Yeah, I think so. He was very abusive to her. My mother's first child passed away at 3 weeks old, and then it was my sister and myself. She had 3 with him, and her oldest one passed away. My mother was a child when she married him. She ran off and got married to him, I think 16 or 17.
And see the guy that like what would have been your stepfather then? How was life living with him there?
Well, he was very terrible. My mother had a saying. She'd always say, "I wouldn't want him to be my dad. He's a mean SOB." And that
Right.
always stuck with me. If you said you wouldn't want him to be your dad, why was he there?
Yeah.
Why didn't you leave?
When you look back now, what do you think the reason was there? Was it security, stability?
I don't think she could do it on her own. I don't
Yeah.
think he thought she was strong enough to do it on her own.
Yeah. And as you were growing up there, how did that affect you, do you think?
Well, and when you're a child when life's bad, but you don't know how bad is
Yeah.
until you get around people who come from a normal childhood. We didn't. We knew it was bad. We didn't want to be there, and we were terrified, and we had to walk on eggshells, and we knew it was bad. But it wasn't until later in life when I realized how bad. Because I mean, the people that we were associated with also had similar lives to us. Poverty breeds depression. A lot of the
That's
time,
yeah,
kids are the
so
reason.
tell
Kids
us
are
a
the
little.
ones that take it out on 'em.
Yeah, and with like the whole poverty side, was whereabouts were you being raised then? Was that Texas?
Yeah.
And from what I know about there's like a lot of wealthy parts there, but also there's a lot of poverty
Well,
areas.
we were in the trailer park, so we weren't part of the wealthy part. For the longest time, I thought success was an actual house.
Right.
I thought you were rich if you had an actual house.
Yeah. And was that kind of like the mentality in that particular area?
Well, my stepfather was always drinking, and he did just about every kind of drug you think of. And looking back and thinking about and knowing as an adult what he made income wise, we actually weren't poor.
What did he do?
He was a truck driver.
Truck driver.
He worked in the oil field, and he was a truck driver. I mean, he made $60,000 to $80,000 a year in the 80s.
That's a lot of money.
That was a lot of money.
Yeah.
And we were literally poor. Drugs and alcohol, drugs and alcohol. And my mother had a spending habit. She would bounce checks and put it on my sister and I to figure out how to come up with money as children.
And did you feel that you had to grow up pretty quickly?
But yeah, my sister pretty much raised me and my brother until she was gone. And then it was on me to take care of my brother until I was gone. I was sent to a stayed home at 10, from 10 to 14. And it was designed to be a bad thing. I went to juvenile, and I don't. To me, it was the greatest thing ever. I loved it. When they told me that the state quit funding my stay there, they were sending me back home. I was horrified. I didn't want to go. I stole a car and tried to rob a gas station so I could
Yeah.
stay because they said, well, I had been good, so I couldn't stay anymore. The state wasn't going to pay any longer.
And how old were you at the time? 14?
14 when I left there. Yeah,
So you're
I,
14 and you're trying
I
to hold
came
up.
home, and 3 weeks later, I was married.
Okay. Right. First, there's a lot there. So 14, you were trying to hold up a gas station.
Well, yeah, that was just to stay there. But long before then, I mean, I stole a car at 10. That's why I was there. I stole my mother's car.
And so you then get sent back home. I mean, first of all, what was the reason for them sending you into what we call care? What was that with the actual reason?
Sending me to the home
Yeah.
because I was a runaway. I ran all the time. I tried to escape my home. And so
Right.
I stole my mother's car. Me and a friend of mine, she was a little bit older than me, and we wrecked it. She wrecked it because we were 10 and 12 stealing cars and sitting on pillows. So, I mean, they didn't even catch us in the car for a week because back then there wasn't digital everything. So my mother didn't know her license plate. So it took them a whole week before they could report the car stolen. So we'd pull up, these two little girls next to a cop, and they could pull us over because they didn't have probable cause because the car wasn't stolen.
And is at the home not question why you had done what you had done? They didn't see in how the family was or anything like that.
Well, the home, there was several hundred of us there. Everybody there came from a bad home.
So you're just another number.
We were just another number, but I mean, they were great to us. Even juvenile that they told me was so bad was better than where I was at.
And see, then you're sent back. So what happened? How do they lose the fund? How does it work where they lose the funding then?
Well, I wasn't getting in trouble. I wasn't causing problems.
If you had stayed there causing trouble, you would
I
have
could,
still stayed
yeah,
there.
but they didn't tell me that, or I would have. But
But then you go back to the environment that everyone knows you tried to escape from.
well, my mother and my stepfather were very good at playing the victim and making my sister and I the problem. You know, they started early on telling everybody that everything that we said was a lie. So that way, when we'd come out and tell them things that were going on, well, it was a lie. So nobody ever believed my sister and I. And when they didn't, we just had to go home to pure hell. So we just would be quiet about it. And they always
Yeah.
had us terrified that if we told child services, we were going to go to worse places than there. And I think that's a lot with children. They don't understand that where they're at is so bad, and you can't imagine something being worse. I mean, children are so easily manipulated, and we just knew it was going to be worse than where we were at. When in actuality, it was probably going to be better.
So you've gone back there. You're 14 years of
Mhm.
age, and 3 weeks later you're married. How coming from somebody in the UK? How's that even possible? You're gonna have to explain that one to me.
Well, even today,
Yeah.
America, if a parent signs, you can get married.
At what age?
I think 12 or 13. Depends on the state. Each state's different.
But what age group is there like a set of ages that if somebody's that young, they have to marry somebody that young, or could it be like with like an adult that's like 40 or something?
I mean, depends on the state.
It depends on the state, even today.
Yeah, even today. In Tennessee headlines that they arrested him. He was in his 60s and went to Alabama and married a 16-year-old, and they arrested him, but the marriage is still legal. So if he had stayed in Alabama, he could have been legal to stay married over there. They couldn't arrest him for being married, but they could arrest him for doing the sexual acts with the child.
Sure. How come these laws have not been updated?
Well, because nobody ever even knows it exists. When I put my book out, so many people that are police officers that I know, they're like, "Can't do that." I'm like, "Yeah,
So what
yeah, you can. As long as your parents gives a signature, you can get married."
so what happened to you then? You're 14 years old, and then you're back, and then 3 weeks later you're married. What on earth happened?
So my mother wanted me to start seeing this boy, and he was a lot older than me. He was 19 or 20. And then she told me, if you get married to him, you can be an adult. You can do whatever you want to. You can leave here. Well, I mean, what do you think a 14-year-old does? Okay.
Especially you want to get away. So what were you thinking? Going, you're being told this.
I couldn't imagine being in that house another 3 or 4 years.
So I'll marry almost this complete stranger if it means getting me away from that house.
I would have probably done just about anything.
Yeah. And so what happened then after you've got married, a whirlwind romance, or well, just not even a whirlwind romance, but just like 3 weeks and you're married. And what was life like after that?
It was not great.
No, I kind of assumed it wouldn't be.
No, it was not great. I should have had I been an adult, I would have seen the signs like, he wanted my hair cut a certain way and I was only allowed to wear certain clothes and he didn't like the certain way to wear makeup. But I was 14, so I didn't know. You don't see those kind
And
of
no, and you've not had any sort of like advice or support to watch out for that, and your brain's just trying to survive to get out of that. How long did
Mhm.
this go on for you?
So I was married to him. Well, I was married to him for a while, but I think I was 18 or 19 when the divorce was final. I may have been 20. We fought for quite a while. We had two children, a daughter and a son. And I had to figure out how to come up with money to pay for lawyers. And so in the end, he didn't want custody of our son. He didn't want nothing to do with our son. He disowned him. And he agreed to joint custody of our daughter if I would let him sign away on his son and I had nothing to do with him. Because his girlfriend at the time didn't want anything to do with him. She didn't want a ready-made family. So he later kept our daughter from me. So I didn't see my daughter. I went to jail 34 times, I think, trying to see her because nobody would help me. And we had joint custody, but nobody would help me. So he would hide her from me. And I eventually went to jail enough that they told me if I didn't stop going to jail, that I was going to lose my son.
Well, you're trying to do, how does it, I mean, it's crazy. How's that even possible? You're trying to see your own
Mhm.
child, and then he's like stopping you from doing that. How's that even legally allowed?
Well, there was nobody to help me. Him and his mother were the best manipulators. They did the whole church to everybody and small town, her family was connected, the new wife. Here I was, this monster of a person. So they painted me as this terrible person. So nobody would help me.
How
You
did
know,
you get
nobody
through that?
nobody ever stopped and said, "Hey,
Yeah.
what kind of mother do we think a 14 or 15 or 16-year-old's gonna be? Or a wife? We don't understand why she's not good at this. Well, maybe because she's a child."
Yeah. And there's nobody around there that was questioning this guy. This isn't right.
Now he made a deal with my mother that if my mother would testify against me and tell him I was a bad mother, that he would let her see my daughter. So my mother testified against me.
What was the relationship like with your mum? I imagine it's not a good one, but
I don't speak to her now, but
no.
for a long time, she had the manipulation, I guess is the word that I'm looking for.
Yeah, of course.
I haven't talked to her in probably 8 or 9 years. It's taken that long for me to see what she's been doing this whole time, where she manipulates me because I've always felt that she was the victim. I had to
Yeah.
protect her. I've always protected her.
Mm.
My stepfather from whatever my stepfather did. If she got herself in trouble financially, I had to go get her out because she was going to have to deal with him. If not, she had my sister and I convinced that she was the victim, not us.
I know we're probably jumping forward a little bit, but what made you realise that actually you and your sister were the victims, and she was like somebody that's very narcissistic, very controlled, and very manipulative?
It wasn't until my oldest son, she was trying to convince him it was okay to do some of the stuff he was doing. And my husband was like, "This is just enough. Okay, you can't keep dealing with this lady. All they do is suck your drive money. All they do is create chaos." I mean, she would call my siblings and say, "Hey, this one said this about you. That one said this about you," just to watch us fight, just because it was fun, because so she could be the savior in the middle. And it took a point
And,
where I
and
had to say, you know, why are we excusing their behavior because they're family? I felt I was
yes,
brainwashed that you can't just walk away from family because they're family, but you can. There's nothing stopping you.
no, I get this with clients where they got like terrible parents. They'd be far better off without them. And some do. I disown my family. They're terrible people. My mother's awful. And my life has been considerably better with her long gone. We're around the same sort of time as yourself. For me, I'm like, I don't care. In fact, if it's family, all the more reason for them to treat you nicely, not worse. So, why did I have a divine right to stay in your life, making your life miserable? But you get some people that just won't do it. They won't do it. Oh, it's my mum. I can't do it. I can't do it. And as a therapist, you have to go, I understand that. Then it's about being honest with yourself and recognizing what you're going to get from them for the rest of your life, sort of thing. So I think it
Well,
takes
I think
courage and strength. But yeah,
because
I agree with you.
I really think it's because the parents that are so bad, they manipulate you as your child. They brainwash you that you
Yeah.
can't live
Oh,
life
definitely.
without them.
Yeah.
You can't do it. And you're the bad person for saying, "Hey, here's a boundary and you're not going to cross it. You can't come around my life no more."
Yeah.
So,
No, no.
you become the bad guy and they brainwash you of that something's wrong with you. You're the broken one. That's why this is the situation.
Yeah, and they never take any accountability for their
No,
actions. Never be an apology. So,
no.
when luckily enough, as a therapist, when you know what to look for, it stands out a mile. You can see it for what it is very clearly. That's always helpful. And with yourself, so how did you get it resolved when it come to having the problem with like your ex husband and getting your own child back?
Well, I didn't see my daughter for 10 years, and then when him and his
10 years.
10 years, and then when him and his, second wife divorced, I got a phone call from her. I had worked 18 hours that day, and I come home, and there's a message on my answer machine from the stepmother telling me I need to hurry up and get down there, that she wasn't safe, that they were getting a divorce. And I went down there, and by the way, she was completely fine. The stepmother was the one that was traumatizing her and was abusive to her, and not physically, but mentally. And he allowed it the whole time. So
And how did you rebuild the relationship there with?
it was a very hard road we had to, because she had been told that I abandoned her and that I didn't love her. And she had been told, you know, that I was this terrible person. And I asked her one day, I said, if I wanted to abandon you, why didn't I leave your brother? Yeah, I took him. I had
Yeah,
him. If all of it was my fault, then why didn't your brother stay with you? Have you never asked yourself that question?
yeah. Did she start to like realize?
Yeah. And I really think when she had her own child, she understood. She started understanding. I mean, we get along great now. So she's 31.
It's good you've been able to rebuild it through no fault of your own there as well. And it
Yeah.
must be like really, I don't know, how did you manage that? Because the injustice of it.
Well, I'll always carry guilt that maybe I didn't fight harder or just do the right thing. But back then, I didn't really know. The only way I knew how to express anything was anger, and
Yeah,
so
cool.
um, I would just get upset and beat everybody up because that's all I had.
Yeah,
So, I
yeah,
mean, I'll
uh,
still, no matter what, I'm always going to have guilt for that. That there's something I could have done, so she didn't have to. And I really never thought in the back of my mind that life was going to be terrible for her. And so when I found out how her stepmother was to her after all them years, I mean, there's nothing you can do. I'm always going to carry that guilt.
yeah, yeah. No, I get that. So, what happened after that was resolved? Then, what was life looking like for you at that time? Because you'd been through like a lot in a short space of time.
Yeah, and well, and the second person that I was with, I have 2 kids with, 2 sons, and
Yeah.
he was great. Except he didn't have a lot of ambition in me or any of that, but he passed away.
Okay.
And so then I'm married to my husband now,
Yeah.
and we've been married for a long time. But it's been a long road for me, because learning how to live with somebody, when you're expecting the other shoe to drop and you're expecting everybody to do you the same way, you don't trust anybody. It's a lot when you've never been able to trust anybody.
Yeah, and I know from like my childhood, you're there and you meet somebody that's a really nice person, whether on whatever level, and you're just waiting for them, or you're suspicious of why they being
Yeah.
nice. What do they want? What's the consequences?
You're always waiting for the other shoe to drop, because you don't have any value for yourself.
Yeah,
And that's really what it is. It's taken a long time for me to love me.
yeah. So when did that start happening for you? Was that therapy?
No, no. I think it was getting away from my mother.
So it's still fairly recent times. That's a long
Yeah,
time to carry
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I was about 39.
yeah,
I've lived in survival mode so long that
yeah,
you don't know you're living in survival mode. You're just doing
yeah,
it. And I overcompensated with my kids. I overcompensated everything because I didn't have any actual, here's what you should do as a mother.
yeah.
So I always went to the extreme more. I gave them everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah, yeah, and it's not the worst thing in the world,
Yeah.
especially from when and I did the same with like my kids. I'll give them I would always joke and say it's easy to bring up kids. Just do the opposite to what I had. Can't go wrong. I used to sort of say that.
That's what I say.
Agrees.
I say, "Hey, the only way I ever learned how to parent was just doing the opposite. If my mother would
So
have
you
done
got to do the opposite. And also, what would have I've wanted? Or if I would have wanted that, I'm sure that so it becomes easy in that sense there as well. But you do overcompensate. You be
yeah.
very overprotective there, buying two extra Christmas presents that they don't need. You're doing it for your own benefit, but you don't realize it. And things like that.
Yeah. 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 Well, and, I had this for the longest time. So many therapists would say, well, you just need to get past it and heal. So you're expecting it to be like this magic trick. It's just going to happen overnight, and you're going to wake up and you do something and wham, you're going to be fixed. But I don't think that you ever the word heal is such a word that people misunderstand. I think it's learning to the better word is to say you got to learn to live with the past and understand the past is not your identity. It's not who you are. And at
Yeah.
some point you have to make
Yes.
that change
Yeah.
and understand that the past is back here and you can change it. Doesn't matter what you do. But how long are you going to
Yeah.
drag it into your future and ruin that?
It's when yourself coming from a traumatic childhood there and the injustice of it, and then trying to overcome it, and it's very difficult not to bring it into your everyday life, and
Mhm.
then letting that affect relationships, friendships, anything, because it's had such an impact on you. So it takes a lot of work there, and healing. Yeah, I'll get the healing to a degree, but for a lot of people with trauma, especially where it's like trauma over a period of years and decades or whatever, so it's always a work in progress there as well, so it is difficult. What happened at like sort of 39 then? You're when did the change for you really start happening? Was it when you decided to stop speaking to your mother? Okay, so with your husband, so your husband that you're with now, you've been with quite a long time, is that right?
17.
17 years. And he sounds like he's a very stable, consistent guy.
Yes.
So that must be uncomfortable for you to be with a nice guy that's going to look after.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and and my mother would say things to tell people, like, 'cause we have 2 kids together. She'd say, "I'm crafty," but I did not. We had to get my tubes untied to have kids. It wasn't like it could be a secret, you know? And so I always felt like I was on the defense the first part of our marriage because my mother made me feel like I didn't deserve him. Like he was too good for me.
Right.
It's hard in a marriage because I was
Yeah.
waiting. What are you doing?
Yeah.
You
Did you find that you would almost like try and self sabotage the relationship?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely, because I mean, you're literally waiting for it because it's gonna hurt less if you just push them away than
Do it now.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so how did you react when he said to you about like your mother? She's just terrible. She affects everything. It affects us.
I
What was the moment you went, do you know what? I think you're right.
it was that moment when I was fighting with her about my son. She always took my oldest son and she played him against me. She'd tell him things to make me not him not like me, and it's like she got joy out of it. She got joy out of causing chaos between me and my kids. I mean, it's like she enjoyed it just so she could turn around and say, "See, told you you're not perfect, mom."
Yeah. But it's just this like she's got this like self-loathing of herself projected onto you. And
And
how did you?
I mean, it happened pretty fast when I
Yeah.
cut ties with them,
Yeah.
and said, "Okay, that's enough." I started looking around and you start seeing things like,
Yeah.
"Wow, I didn't even realize that. Man, I've been doing this for 40 years."
Yeah.
I've been letting them manipulate me for 40 years. I have been the one taking care of these people for 40 years. I mean, you realize how bad they were taking advantage of you and how manipulative they were of you and how much of my life that I've let them steal and ruin. And the craziest thing is, I say it all the time, when you look at yourself in the mirror, you can look at yourself and not see what everybody else put in your head. You see you. And I don't think that I looked any different, but my brain sees me how the things that were traumatized have put in my head.
Yeah. Yeah, no, of course. How's your life changed? And I'm going to say improved since your mum's been cut out of it. Because mine, every aspect of my life improved 100%.
You really learn the difference between surviving and living.
Yeah.
Uh, and there's no other way to put it, and there's no way to describe it, but you really learn what it's like to enjoy your life.
Did you find that that must have been like a strange feeling to actually enjoy your life? And I would imagine at the start you're thinking, well, I'm enjoying this. Is there a consequence I'm going to pay for enjoying it? So how did you find that?
Well, for me, I think it's different for each person. So I take houses that are broken down and I remodel them, what most people would call guts.
Yeah. Yeah.
They tear them down, but I take something that's terrible and make it beautiful. And it's very symbolic, but it helps me heal.
Yeah, the
It helps.
transformation from
Yeah.
what it was to what it's evolved in, and
Mhm.
then it's very similar to yourself there, because you're somebody that's putting a lot of work in on yourself to
Yeah.
improve and to grow and probably make up for lost time.
Well, and there's still days. There's always going to be days where I feel like today is just hard. Like I was telling you before, I was snowed in for 2 weeks and that feeling of being stuck, trapped, I panic. I have anxiety attacks and I want to change scenery. And it's taken me a long time to understand that I do that, but I have to have somewhere to go. I can't see the same surroundings. And I didn't understand why until recently, but like I'll remodel my house, change the colors, change this because it helps with my anxiety.
Yeah. Do you find you always got to be busy?
Yes, constantly.
Yeah.
I have
If you
to
sit still,
keep
that's a nightmare.
yeah. I have to keep my brain busy doing something. So we bought a beach house about 2 years ago, and it's really been good for me because I can just go and sit on the beach and not be busy.
Yeah. How'd you find doing that? Actually switching
Uh,
off?
I really like it.
Yeah.
It's
Can you
amazing.
do it?
Do what?
Can you do it for very long?
Through the whole day. I can sit through
That's
the
good.
whole day and do nothing.
That's good. So, I mean, it sounds like a terrible thing to ask, but when did you find you actually started enjoying life?
Probably about 8 years ago, 7, 8 years
About
ago.
8 years ago. And how did you feel once you'd cut your mum out? I mean, what was her reaction when you said to her, "I don't want anything to do with you anymore"?
Well, I just blocked her. I didn't tell her anything. I just blocked her. I didn't feel like I owed her an explanation.
No,
I just blocked her on social media. I blocked her from calling me. When a sibling will call, I say, I'm not talking to her. Never again am I talking to her again.
and that's it.
It was just
So you not. When was the last time she tried to make contact with you?
she hasn't.
She hasn't, but she'd be a victim somewhere else.
Oh yeah, she's definitely the victim.
Yeah,
She tells everybody how
of
terrible a
course.
person I am.
Yeah,
What's the word that she used? I think I'm better than them.
yeah, go for it.
Yeah. She says I think I'm better than them.
So what was life like for you before you like cut ties with like so who did you cut ties with then? Was it just your mum, your stepfather,
My mom, my stepfather, my siblings.
siblings? What about your older sister that you grew up with then?
So I don't know that I've cut ties with her because I'm a fixer. A lot of
Yeah.
times trauma you gotta fix everybody else. I'm the fixer, but so she actually lives down the road from me on one of my properties. I can't communicate with her so much, but she can email me. And I think that works best where it's on my terms. So, because if not, I have a tendency to try to overcompensate with her and she doesn't take care of herself and she's older than me
Yeah.
because she knows I will.
And how did you feel once I mean, did you cut ties with everyone at once?
Nope. I didn't cut ties with only my parents first. My brother, he had this, my stepfather is his father. So he's very, oh, well, that didn't happen to y'all. Y'all are liars. My dad was good to y'all. So, but, I took care of my brother. I think I felt more like his mother than his sister. I bought his first car. I paid for his school clothes, his proms, everything.
And how did you feel once you'd made those big decisions there? Did you feel sadness,
No.
disappointment, relief?
Felt relief. It was like a whole weight had been lifted off my shoulders because
Same.
nothing I ever did was good enough for them. They'd make saying, so I ran car dealerships and then they tell everybody there's no way she's making that kind of money. She's got to be a stripper. She's got to be doing this. She's selling sex on the side. So I sell land. And somebody told me the other day, your mother said you've got to be doing something illegal. But
Yeah.
why? Why can't you just live your life? If I'm the problem, why do you keep bothering me?
Take it as a compliment because they're obviously they've got like a very narrow vision of the world there. So if somebody's making money, they've got to be doing this and that. Not that they've used their intelligence to
Yeah. Well,
to
she's always been that way to me. I've never been pretty enough. So if anybody that wants me, it's for another reason. Because it can't be because you're pretty. It
yeah,
can't be because you're smart. You're not that smart. It's never about me. And that's why it was so hard for me in my life because I worked so hard. I'd overcompensate and work
yeah,
and everything because I always felt like I had to prove to her my worth and prove
yeah,
to her that I had value.
yeah. But you'd be there forever though.
Yeah. I wouldn't. I would never. Because when she looks at me, she's gonna see the person she hates the most, and that was my father. I look like
Yeah,
him. And
yeah,
she's never gonna let me forget that.
yeah. Even though that's not your fault and nothing
No,
to do with you.
no.
Mm.
But she's never going to let me forget that.
Yeah,
It'll never be anything other than you should be so thankful to this man, that your stepfather, because he raised you. Well, if If you
Well,
call abusing raising, okay. If you
yeah.
call I mean, they kicked my sister out on the street at 13, and I was off at home at 10, so if you call that raising, then okay.
Yeah, if my kids were late home at 13 for 5 minutes, I'd be out searching, panicking, let alone
Yeah.
somebody kicking them out.
I mean, every time one of my kids was my age, and they're 14 and 15, I always look at them and I think, "What in anybody's
Yeah,
mind did they look at me at that age and think she could be a mother, she can be a wife?" I mean, I've got my fifth one is 15. I look at him all the time and think how immature he is. There's no way he even knows what love is. I mean, he loves a different girl every week.
yeah,
And I don't even understand how you can look at your own child and allow people to do the things that she allowed to be done to us. I don't understand. And I'll
yeah.
never understand why.
It was like my mother who let my stepfather, abuse me, and she covered it up. She made a choice. She made a choice. She made a choice. Yeah, she made a choice. And I'm from a donor, so she had to pay money that she couldn't afford to actually have me. Like, she didn't tell me that until I was in my 30s, but so I was donor conceived because my stepfather was like a failure at everything, no self-esteem, self-worth. He hated me, and she chose him and allowed that. Which, when you've got your own kids, you think, "Ah, how could you even do that?" But she's coward. So
Yeah, that's what I always say. She always chose him, and my sister and I were the sacrificial lambs.
yeah, yeah, and it's very common as a therapist. You learn a lot of things along the way, and for a mother or a parent to choose their partner over it's easier. It's easier to choose the parent, the stepfather or whatever, because if you believe that, usually if there's like children have been abused or anything, the parent will go, well, actually, I don't believe you. Actually, because it's easier to say that, because if they go, well, I'll believe you, he's going to have to go. Suddenly they're worried about security and money and what's the neighbors going to say and all stuff like that.
Well, see, and that was always my problem. I always made sure I could stand on my own 2 feet because
Yeah,
I was never gonna put my children in that situation. "Hey, you don't like who I'm with? Say so, and they'll be gone
yeah,
in a heartbeat." But, I think that's what we do when we come from that kinda situation. I was always the primary disciplinary. "Ain't nobody touching my kids. Nobody's touching my kids." Nobody was ever allowed the bathroom when my kids were taking a bath. Nope.
yeah, yeah. Of course. Yeah,
I didn't let us spend the night at people's houses because I knew the monsters that exist out there in the world. And
yeah,
they tell time, "Mom, you can't be a helicopter parent." My oldest son, he said, "Mom, you cannot lock me in this house forever. As long as I can try.
yeah,
I keep you safe as long as I can." And it's
yeah,
funny because, my sons they live on our property. They have their houses on our property.
yeah.
So
That's good. That's very close.
very close. I have to go to the beach house because I have mothered hen them too much.
Yeah.
So
But it comes from a place of love. It
yeah.
comes from the opposite to what you've got. And when you got kids that is there such a thing as receiving too much love? Probably not. And even if they might find it frustrating and annoying, they'll appreciate it, because it's certainly better. The difference of having a parent that shows you love and one that doesn't, it's just poles apart.
Well, I tell them all the time. Here's the thing. Once you have that trauma or somebody ever hurt you, can't take it away. Can't take
Cool.
it away. So I would much rather you not like me because I didn't let you go do all that stuff
Yeah.
and be mad at me over that than I can't fix that trauma once it's there.
Yeah. And what made you decide to start speaking out and telling your story?
So it didn't start off that way. A friend of mine, I talked to her a lot. She said, "You really should write it all down." So I started writing it in a notebook. And it was the craziest thing. After I wrote it all down, I went back and read it and said, "Wow, cannot believe that I survived all that." And my whole perspective on myself shift because I had been looking at my life a different way. All the things that I failed at doing. You failed at this, you failed at that. And I looked at it, I said, my gosh, these are things that I actually survived that it would have broke most people.
Yeah.
She said, "You should publish it." And I said, "Do you think anybody's gonna read it?" She's like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
I think they will." So that's how it happened. It was just a healing process. I just started writing it down. I was sitting there on my beach writing.
Yeah, it's a good place to write it there, and there's so much to come out, and you get so much from writing. It really helps with the
And even if you never want to publish it, the weight that comes off of you
yeah, yeah,
when you go back and you read the
yeah,
things, holy moly,
yeah,
you
def-
realize how bad was.
yeah. Because I say it to clients all the time, even myself. You don't things are bad a lot of the times, but they become normalized,
Yeah.
and you don't realize just how bad you are They are, and until you're out of it. I mean, I remember telling my first therapist some of the things that I went through, and I was like a kid. I'm like, Is that not normal?" And she went, "Lee, you're not listening to what you've just said to me."
No, you don't realize it.
And it's not too often. I'm like, and I look back now, and I'm like, how could I not realize? But I know the answers. But it's just like, the normalization of it. There, it's just crazy what people go through, and it's not until you're writing things down, whether you're journaling or you're writing your memoir or whatever. You're like, did I really go through? How did I even survive this?
Well, I told my friend Sherry, I told her about so my sister used to tell me to pee the bed so that my stepfather wouldn't touch me. And as punishment, they throw me outside in a diaper, and my sister was made to get all the kids, and they throw rocks at me. I was about 5 or 6. That was my punishment. And when I said it to her, you should have seen her face. And I thought, "Well, isn't that what everybody does?" No.
Yeah.
And or my sister was one of his dogs got killed. My little brother let it out. Well, the things he did to her because that dog got killed.
Yeah, it just seems like there's like so many people that are like got all this trauma from past generations that's just carried on and carried
Mhm.
on. And because if you're like throwing or getting kids to throw rocks at a 5-year-old, for whatever, do you not enter your head that what you might be getting them to do is not right? It doesn't make sense. Ludicrous. It's how people can feel that that's acceptable on any
Yeah.
level.
And our mother would just say, "Well, he's just a mean SOB. It's just what it is." Why was it just what it is? I say all the time, here's the problem. And this is why this generation is doing. So for so many years, families would say, we got to keep the family together no matter what. Uncle so and so over here, he might be a perv, so watch your daughters.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
grandpa over here gets handsy. Well, why are we letting grandpa and uncle around if they are? If you got to watch your children around these people, why are you letting these people around?
Exactly. But I remember like growing up from where I'm from back in the day, it's like you could tell parent stuff and oh, don't tell tales. What? And that was it. It's a throwaway comment. And you get, well, it's family. Oh, so it's okay for them to do like what you're saying
Yeah.
because they're family. Just keep away from them. What are we in the school playground?
Yeah, and I think that's the difference with and maybe it's with technology, maybe it's because of therapy, maybe it's because it's more modernized, because I think we're gonna have in a couple of generations, we're not gonna have as much because we all are making it more acceptable saying, "It's okay.
Yeah.
Okay."
And nowadays, things have changed for the better, and people like that and abusers, for whatever sort of abuse, are being more exposed
Yeah.
than before. People now know because, like, back in the day, not until I become a therapist, I found out what boundaries are. What's a boundary mean? What does that mean? I didn't know what the word gaslighting was, and I didn't know what a narcissist was or anything like that. But when I speak to people, whether they come to me or it's general conversation, more people are aware of those terminologies and people's behavior not acceptable. Whereas back in the day, people would just accept something. Oh, it's just his way. Throwaway comment. Oh, okay. Well, I'll let him punch me in the
Yeah.
face because it's just his way. Okay, that's fine. At least I know. But now more and more people going, well, that's not acceptable. So with the whole mental health thing, people are becoming more aware of it. So that is good.
Yeah. And I think we're making a more comfortable space with each of us that tell our stories and each of us that come out and say, "Hey, this is not okay," but it is okay that we tell what happened to us and stop making
Yes.
it. And it gives the strength for somebody else to come out and tell their story
Yeah.
because this is how we change the world.
Yeah, and I had an ex Premier League footballer, soccer player, you guys call it, come on to my podcast. A guy called Paul Stewart, lovely guy, and he spoke about his child sexual abuse when he was his football coach abused him from like the age of about 10 or 11, and that listening to him kind of inspired me to sort of start telling my story. So he's passed that on. I'm like, you know what? And if I can help other people in the same thing there as
Yeah.
well. So now, because back in the day, there's no such thing a podcast or anything like that. Uh, the word is getting out and about now. Obviously, internet, that kind of thing. So that's a real positive thing because your story would never have got. Nobody would ever
Mm.
have known that. And a few years ago, you probably wouldn't have entered your head to even write a book. Now,
No.
a lot of people that I speak to are published, and people want to make me write a book. So I've started to write my story, and it's great because if these books come out, people read them and people can get something from them. Then great, it's going to help.
Yeah. I mean, the more of us that tell our story and we're making it more known that what happened to us does not define us.
Definitely.
It doesn't this isn't who we
Yeah.
are. Even our
No.
past mistakes, even if it was some
Yeah.
of it was your fault, it doesn't define you. It's not who you are. You can reinvent yourself as
Yeah.
many times as you need to
Yeah.
until you like who you are. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. And in the past, people something would have happened to them, and they would have allowed that to define them.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people didn't know how to deal with it. The help wasn't there as well. But a lot of people, especially people that I speak to, like a lot of my amazing guests and like yourself, come on, and the adversity they've been through, which that you could have, you could easily allowed that to ruin your life, and you've got all the reasons and excuses in the world, yeah. But you've done the opposite, and you've not got my, yeah. No, I'll just go over it. Well, Lee, do you know, I have to battle and deal with it every single day, but I refuse to accept what I was put through, and now I'm achieving this in business. I'm now writing a book. I'm doing all these sort of positive things.
Yeah. Well, my biggest thing was always, and I didn't ever know how to put it into words, but I didn't want my kids to grow up the way I grew up.
No, of course not.
And I wanted them to have better. And it didn't matter how hard I had to work.
Yeah,
It didn't matter if I was broken or not broken. I said at the time, I think I'm always gonna be broken. But I mean, aren't we all really? From
we
one
will.
thing or another, a relationship, a parent, something.
Yeah, I mean, it's a loss. You're always working on yourself. I
Yeah.
mean, for me, I'll have therapy forever. Trauma is what it is. I've had to accept it. I'll just keep working away. And if I'm improving bit by bit, marginal gains, and my life's getting better, and I'm doing the things I'm doing, then it's still a success. It's still a victory for me. And the other thing is, and you probably found it yourself, where do you find that the more you achieve, and every day you wake up with a smile, it's a victory for you. It's a
Yeah.
defeat for them. Yeah, and that's something is added.
So I think a lot of us that carry so much childhood neglect and abuse, we set these goals. I mean, these goals,
Yeah.
and then we achieve them. And so the next goal is way up here
Yeah.
because it's about proving to ourselves that we are worthy.
Yeah.
And I do that all the time. And I set these, I mean, I look at my life sometimes and I just sit there quietly and think, wow, who would have ever thought? Not me. Never.
Yeah. And the thing is, nobody's give that to you.
Yeah. Nobody. No.
Right.
And, and who would have ever thought?
Yeah.
You know, my husband, his parents abandoned him. He was raised by his grandparents. And I tell him all the time, look at what we've built. Two
Yeah.
throwaway kids that nobody wanted.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you look at that now? How do you look at that? Do you just how do you view it? Do you look at it with like a level of, I don't know, satisfaction, accomplishment, achievement? I don't know. How would you?
All of it. I think you look at it as amazement
Yeah,
because
definitely.
you never back when in those times, in those dark times, you never this kind of life you don't think you can have it. You don't think you deserve it. They've made you think you don't deserve this.
When you go all the way back to the beginning for you, you were brought up in an environment where if somebody had a house, they're successful,
Yeah.
which seems crazy.
And if they had a brick house, they were wealthy, wealthy. So, I had to, of course my house is a brick. I had to. Oh,
Like,
it's still
brick.
something of that childhood brain. And my husband's like, you want brick, get brick. So we built this house. I drew it out myself. I mean, it's an accomplishment. It's a goal. It's like I'm amazed all the time at what we've accomplished. Two throwaway kids that nobody wanted.
Yeah, and I'd imagine that you appreciate everything you got every
Oh
single
yeah.
day. Never take it for granted, but
No,
and appreciate it.
but I do have to catch myself because I like to give more than I should. Aw, I'm a fixer. I try to fix
Yeah,
I'm the one that just jumps in there. Oh, let me do it. I can do it. Just hold on. I'll do it better. So that's the thing that I work on daily is I have to let my kids fail on their own and not fix it.
yeah. It's one of the things that I tell clients. And first thing that I learned studying to be a therapist is that it's not your problem. What do you mean it's not your? Well, it's not. It's their problem. You can help them out, but they have to do it themselves,
Uh,
and that can be difficult, especially at the start, or if that's something you've only ever done to go. It's not a problem. You're gonna have to deal with it. It takes a lot of work.
Well, my therapist tells me all the time, hey, those are adults, right? And I'm like, well, not really. He's 26. She's like, an adult. That's an adult. And what were you doing at 26? A whole lot more than them. She's like,
Exactly.
maybe because you're fixing everything. So if you want them to be strong, you got to let them stand on their own 2 feet.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a work in progress.
Yeah, and it always will be. And so you're doing amazing things now. Life's as best as it's ever been for you, which is
Yeah.
great. What's the future looking like for you? What have you got planned?
Well, I'm writing the second part of my book
Yeah.
because this one stops at 14 when I got married because it was so much to put it all in there.
It's insane. You've got a memoir that stops at 14. Most people's would probably start at 14.
No, it stops at 14. So, there was so much I couldn't put it all in there.
Yeah.
So I'm doing book 2 and, I'll finish it this summer sitting by that beach.
A great place to finish your second book there as
I
well.
really think there's something about the ocean that just calms me. And I tell my husband that all the time. He's like,
Yeah.
"Gotta be at the beach." I don't know, it just calms me.
It's relaxing. I mean, I'm from Portsmouth on the south coast, so I'm used to the beach there as well. So, not the greatest of beaches and weather there, but yeah, it can be something very therapeutic, very calming there, very relaxing. So, I get why that you like going there as much.
Yeah. So we spend about 4 months a year down there.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
4 months by the water is pretty good going.
Yeah.
You get to relax.
Yeah. I think, the kids are like, "Mom, how many times we gotta go to the beach?" All the time, all the time.
Yeah, and also you're at a point where you're maximising everything that you can. Because how many years did you go where it was minimal for you?
Yeah. Well, and so I always wanna do and see because I do realize that life at this age in your 40s, you realize there's an expiration date.
Yeah,
And you don't so much think that in your 20s and 30s, but when you're in the 40s, you realize there's an expiration date here.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course, and life's short anyway,
Yeah.
uh, and so you just got to make the most of it. And if it's the case of like yourself, you're making up for lost time, so you're going to maximise everything you do. You're going to enjoy all the things that you do. So if you can go to like the beach for 4 months, you're going to go there because you're going to have a great time, and
Yeah.
life's fulfilling there.
Yeah.
Misty, it's been brilliant talking to you. I've loved every second of it. I really love everything that you're doing. Your strength is amazing. How you got through what you got through to achieve what you've done and to go on to enjoy your life as well as you've done. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.